Jared.
Oh, hey, Jared.
Great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So, how's your day been?
Yeah, good. Thanks for asking.
Good.
Awesome.
Thanks, G.
Yeah, so, growing up in a faith community, family.
Yeah, it was
Well,
good. Like, it was all I ever knew, so I don't remember not going to church. And so every Sunday we were at church. Parents done certain things. Dad was on sound. He was a sound guy. Welcome. He was just to help people move, that sort of thing. So he was always involved. So that was our upbringing was in church. So I'm really thankful for that, because I think all my friends weren't in church, all from school. I was the only guy who went to church. I tried to keep it on the down low and not, say too much. But they knew, but I didn't never push anything in their face. So, yeah, but as far as growing up, in my experience, it was really, really, really good looking back now. I hated it growing up because I was the odd one out at school.
Yeah, right. I feel you.
I was up to no good anyway. So, and then people come to my house and Dad's got these two stickers that he had, one on the front door and one on the back door. The one on the front door said, "Follow Jesus." And the one on the back door said, "Jesus saves," or something. And when kids come to my house, I'm like, "Oh, please don't see that." Like
Come in the window.
yeah. Come through the roof or something like that. Yeah, so that was always, So even though we grew up with that as part of our upbringing, my upbringing, definitely was embarrassed because it was not cool, and it was sort of, I know it's real, I know it's true, but I was very shallow, just surface, go to church, go to youth, that sort of thing. So it was really a thing that I didn't want people to know. But
Did you have, growing up in it, did you have moments where you oh, this is real? Like, sort of imprints in your heart that go...
When I was about 15.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
that was probably the first time. The rest of it before that was my parents' religion or whatever, and I just go along, and it's just what we do, and it's all what everyone does until you get into the older ages, go to school, see what people are up to. It's like, oh, actually most people don't go to church. I do, and now people know that I do, so it's kind of awkward. Yeah, and there was this one girl just comes to my mind then. God puts people in your path along the way that just stick in your memory forever, and this one girl, for whatever reason, she just decided to pick on me for being a Christian, even though I wasn't really being a Christian. But whenever anything would happen in class or whatever, she'd always look at me in front of everybody and say, "God rules, Jared?" or "Jesus rules." And I was like, yeah.
Wow.
And it was weird because she would just single me out and say stuff like that.
She's just testing your faith, man.
And I was like, what is going on here? But
wow.
That's awesome. I don't know if where is this located? Where did you grow up?
Oh, wow.
Sorry, did I?
I know where you lived. Come on, fill us in.
Oh, Tauranga, New Zealand.
Wow.
Oh, horrible place, you poor thing.
Yeah, that's why we left.
Yeah. Praise the Lord.
Yeah, so that was born and bred until we moved to Oz when I was 23.
Wow.
Wow, so you moved over here when you were 23?
Yeah.
Man, that's young.
Yeah.
So now that you're 32.
I know, it's only been 9 years.
You're 27, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Far out.
So we moved, we've been married probably 3 years, and Jackson, our youngest, had just turned 1, and we decided 6 months prior that we were going to move. We came across for a wedding, and then we thought, this is what really felt God wanted us to do. We were going to church there, the church that we grew up in, but every Sunday was worse and worse and worse. You go to church, get really beaten up, and come away feeling worse, and we're like, what? What's the point?
Yeah.
It's better to not go, like emotionally and all the rest of it, than to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it was a big push for us to sort of move away from that.
For people that don't know, is that north, south?
North, east coast of the north.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful places in New Zealand. Yeah.
Almost as good as Auckland.
Not quite.
South Auckland.
Oh, that's not Auckland.
I don't even know New Zealand, man. I don't even say. Yeah.
So when you're like 15, that sort of encounter, like, what was sort of going on? You just in your heart.
I got baptised at 15, and that was a real thing that stood out to me. Like I don't know how it came about, but there was baptisms on one Sunday night, and I somehow put up my hand or whatever, and I got baptized. And it was a real turning point. I didn't, like, life didn't change from then. It didn't become, wow, everything's so different now, but it was definitely one of those things.
Stake in the ground.
Yeah. Still went to school for another year or so after that, but yeah, it was just one of those things that God, I guess, ordained and happened, and then that really kicked off, I guess, the next period of life where it was not so much living completely like the world, but now it was, okay, there needs to be some choices, some differentiation between who you are, what you do, and what the world does.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what's some other like moments or encounters that you remember in those sort of teenage years, which were getting pretty?
So I left school and ended up working in various different jobs, done lots of different jobs earlier on. But when I was about 17, I met my wife-to-be. She was 13, I was 17, and so we started dating through a youth group. That's where we met, and so prior to...
what age were you dating her?
Whose age?
Her age.
13.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you pick her up and go to the movies and stuff?
No.
Oh.
Pick her up and we'll go to youth things.
Proper Christians, Marshall.
We're Christians,
Good
remember?
Christians.
No, don't worry. Don't put the
What were
Christian
you
label.
up to, man?
We were here to talk about Jared.
Yeah, so we met in youth, and it was around the Christmas New Year period where our youth group would go across to the Mount and do like a beach outreach, hand out sausages, tracts. And so Danny had a job at the takeaway across the road from the church, and so she would work some nights that we would go, and so I would wait for her to finish and then take her across because I had a car and she didn't.
There you
so
go.
Yeah, I'd take her across, and that's how we started to develop a relationship. But early on, it wasn't weird. It was really one of those moments where we would have like a prayer meeting beforehand before we'd go across and, start doing what we'd done. I remember clear as day, there was one time when she was walking, praying, and then I just remember God saying she's going to be the one you're going to marry.
Wow.
And I was like,
I've had that experience. I know that, man.
and that was it. Like there was just never another question, whatever. That was it.
That's
That was it.
when you were 17.
Yeah, it would have been 17.
How was that with your parents, her parents, and other people around? Because that's at that age. That's an age gap.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So my parents, I didn't know, but I think my mum wasn't too happy. But she never said anything, neither did Dad. But they were great because they were quiet, and so we could do not what we wanted to do, but we could just carry on with our relationship. Then his mum was a little bit different because the first time I met her, I had to come across to her house after one of those meetings. We're going home one night, and I ended up getting into like a street race with my mate who was from youth as well. And the cops got us, and they took our licenses in our cars, and so we had to walk home at like 12 at night. And fortunately, one of my friends was driving past that I used to hang out with, and he gave us a ride home. And so we got home at stupid o'clock, and then the next day we were at church, and then I went around to her house to apologise to her mum.
Was she with you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how I met her mum.
She loves you at that point.
Well, I never knew till years later that she didn't like me for a while. I thought she was fine, 'cause she was quite quiet too. Like this,
Did she know about the street racing thing?
Yeah, it was straight up. Like
she didn't like you.
It was the cops' fault. We pinned it that way, like they were being unreasonable and all that. So, yeah. But it was, I think we were probably one of the first couples in the youth to start dating, and then dating for a long period of time. We dated for 4.5 years before we got married. So, yeah, that was, I think the youth group and everything like that was quite supportive, and the church, it was great. There was never any negativity there.
I guess the activities you're up to as well, going to youth together, going to prayer meetings together. That's
Street racing afterwards.
Yeah.
Street racing at midnight and getting your car and your license taken off you. These are all good things that parents love.
It's all learning and growing. Yeah. So, that's how.
So you had,
and that took it. Yeah.
You had a commitment to Denny in your heart.
Yeah.
Already from that young.
Mm.
Then but you're still battling, right?
Yeah.
You still got to battle.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us about that battle?
Yeah, so pretty much, I think it would have been about 10 or 11 when I first saw pornography, and that was through my older brother. He brought home through a friend who was very, I guess you could call him ungodly, just a worldly guy. But he looked odd, so he could buy the stuff, so he could go in the shop and buy it. There was no mobile stuff, it was all over the counter. And so he got that through his friend, and I'm not sure if I found it or he showed me or whatever, but that was very young on, probably 10, 11 years old. And so that was, yeah, it's one of those things as a guy, when you see something like that, you do remember it and it has an impact on you. So from that time, it was just this hook, and I couldn't understand it. I didn't know. You definitely know it's wrong. I think everybody in your heart of hearts, you know that you shouldn't look at that stuff. But, you know, there's a hook there, and there's no one to talk to. Definitely at that age, you can't go to your mum or your dad and say, hey, look what I found. Can you tell me about what's right and wrong with this? So, yeah, it started from there. Just the only access to anything like that was via my brother, which was via his friend. And so whatever was there was there. And so, yeah, from that point in time, there was definitely this, I guess it was the forming of some sort of addiction or problem with this stuff, because it was in the dark. So straight away when something is in the dark, it just starts to grow, and it didn't grow fast. It was just there, and so yeah, it just went on from there, and it stayed for a long, long time.
Wow. That's what I was going to ask. So because when you said the hook, generally I think straight in and or kind of consuming, but it wasn't consuming straight away.
Hard to remember straight away, but definitely at times there were times where you'd be at school and you just couldn't stop thinking about it.
Yeah, wow.
But other times you'd forget about it for weeks or months. So yeah, there's no rhyme or reason to it, but definite hard times and struggle, and definite times where it wasn't a problem. So it was a struggle that had different forms at different times. Yeah.
So growing up in a good household, supposedly good household in a faith community, that's you try and follow morals and love others. That would have started like tension in your own heart.
Yeah,
like
huge amount. Yeah, it's not until I got probably into youth that you start to develop relationships. When you're younger, it's just you're only just kids and your friends and that. But into youth and then into young adulthood, into your 20s, that's when you start having a relationship with people. But no one's talking about that sort of stuff. So that, I think therein lies a big part of the problem, is that no one's talking. And there was nothing from the pulpit, there was nothing from anywhere. So realising what I realise now and talking to a lot of people the last year, it's not a problem, like it's a big problem.
Yeah.
But by and large, no one's talking about it. It's different here at Chapel, I definitely get that. But my experience forever in church is no one is talking about it, either from any platform or any personal stuff. So that's my experience. That's how I had it. And that was a big part of the problem for me, was that I had nowhere
to go.
Yeah.
Did you actually talk to anyone about it?
Nope.
Like, wow.
The reason I didn't, it was for fear. Like, there was fear of, okay, if I'm in my mid to late teens and go and talk to my youth leaders or my youth pastors, I'm a leader, sort of now already. I don't know what will happen. Like, I'll probably not be a leader and probably not be part of the youth anymore, or definitely part of the church. It happens, man. I've seen it, and it's not because it doesn't happen. It's if you stuff up, then there's no more place for you, and that's what happens. Yeah.
So you're walking a tightrope, in a sense.
Yeah,
wow.
Definitely.
Wow.
Yeah, and the actual conflict emotionally, and like, it's unbelievable the amount of stress that you live under. And definitely your guilt and your condemnation that you live week to week, depending on how you're weak or how good you were or bad you were. It goes up and goes down, it goes up and goes down, and it affects everything in life.
So, and how long are you talking with this, like, secret growing greenhouse?
Well, from 10 till last year, 40.
Wow.
Last year, was the first time you opened up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so 30 years. I thought it was like 27, but no, 30 years. If it's 10, it'll be 30 years. Yeah. And at different stages through those 30 years, it was, for some years, it was not even an issue.
Sure.
But some years, it was a big issue. Some months, some days, some weeks, like, yeah.
That's massive. What led to opening? Man, how did we get to opening up about it after 30 years?
It all started from a decision that we made as a couple. We weren't in a good place. We were in a good place, but it was getting worse. I thought we were really good, and our history, being married, we were really good compared to what we could see around us. You observe other couples and that.
Yeah.
And I thought I had a great marriage, and it was compared to what we had seen. So, but it was getting worse and worse and worse, and so we got to a point that we needed to make a big decision to move away from where we were going and fellowshipping. And so we did make a decision. We took a week or so off, went overseas, and just really cleared the air, sort of cleared our heads and all that. And then we took some time out. We already decided that we were not going to keep going where we were going, so we were going to go somewhere else. And we had heard of Chapel, never been, but that's where we were going when we came back. And so we came back and went to Chapel, and the first Sunday was Alan Meyer was there, and he spoke.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
No way.
Legit, yeah. For real.
Far out.
And I was like, this is so cool. Like, finally I can hear someone talking about the stuff that's real. Like, he's not afraid to say certain words and go there.
Man, that's crazy.
And so that was the first step, was to do that. And so we done that. And then the next step was I meet your brother outside afterwards. Marsh, you introduced me to Dan afterwards.
Sorry.
For the lunch.
Sorry about that.
The better brother.
If you're that ugly, you got to have something good, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and so met Dan, and we're just talking. I don't even know how we're talking about what we're talking about, but he brought up some scenarios he had when he was working years ago in the mines and whatever, and just his freedom. Like, it was like, wow, so here's another guy talking free. And just chat. And he goes, Dad's running Valiant Man in a month or so. And so I thought, cool, I should probably do that. But I thought, I'll do the next one. Like, I won't do this one, I'll do the next one. Get my feet under the table, get comfortable. But there was just something in me saying, you got to just do it. Like, just get on it now and do it. And I didn't know what it was about. Like, I had no idea. And so, put my name down, text and whatever, and that started. It was probably about this time last year that started. Yeah, and so went to the first one, and it's pretty much, hey, meet everybody, chat, sign the thing and all that.
Sign the waiver.
And then, so that was the first night, and so I started to get a picture about what Valiant Man was about, just a little bit. And so the second night, it just hits you between the eyes. This is what we're here for. And I was like, cool. It's like, I need to be here for this, so I know that this is for me. And I don't remember the nights, what was what night or whatever, but I know that there was a massive journey starting then. And so, that was December the 11th was the second night of Valiant Man. We'd done it fortnightly. And so December the 13th was the Friday, and we were going for a walk on the beach together, as we usually do. And so we were just walking down the beach and talking about marriage and how to affair-proof your marriage, how to have a strong marriage. And then he brought up something about a book she'd read, and we came to the conclusion that the best way to affair-proof your marriage is honesty. Like, there's no 10-step thing. I guess these things do work and they help, but at the base of it all is honesty. If you're going to be together in one, there has to be nothing between you, and so you've got to be honest. And I felt God just giving me a nudge.
Wow.
Because there'd been times in the past where she'd maybe seen something on my phone once or twice, and I'm like, oh, yeah, these ads, they whatever, and, lies. So she knew something was up. She didn't know exactly what it was or the extent of it all, but there was something. So this is the time, and there was a massive peace too. Like, the whole time we were walking, I wasn't like flipping out and freaking out. I just knew that we're on a journey now, and like it's not going to be the same. So we sat down, and I forget the question that she asked, but anyway, I told her, yes, I have been looking at porn and all the rest of it, and she was really gracious, and like, yeah, I thank God for her and just the journey that we've been on, because it's just been like amazing. So that was the start of probably 3 months of like confession,
undoing
everything. Like I said, you ask anything, I'll tell you anything. Like I won't lie. There's no more lies. So whatever you ask, I'll tell you the absolute truth. And so she did everything.
Was it like, is this like, it must be a massive weight? Must have been a massive weight. So you're in a faith community, but you would never have felt like connected in it, or never a part, like truly, authentically a part of it, because there's a massive barrier between being open and I don't know. I just, because I know the stigma of men trapped in pornography. It seems to be, or anything like sexual stuff. It's like, it's really ostracizing, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And I had seen people growing up that had, just mentioned that they had struggled in the past and not anything now. And it was just like the next week they were like, oh, where's so-and-so? Or, just, you pick up on the culture, you pick up on the spirit behind what's happening. And it's like, no way I'm going to become that guy and be that or do that, because it'll cost me everything. And I didn't want to lose everything that I thought I had. So, but yeah, it was, my Christianity and my walk for a lot of it, especially the last, 20 years, is definitely performance-based. It's like you do this, that, then you're accepted. Or
behavior management.
Yeah, like if you look like this, sound like this, do this, talk like that, then you're it. But if you have problems, then you're not our problem. You need to go somewhere else and get it sorted.
And it's interesting that I think we do that a lot as Christians, is we somehow forget that we're all, failing forward at some degree. Like, we're all messes, we're all growing, but you see someone and you find out about their failure, and and we discount everything else. Yeah. And it's like, no, but you're doing that. Yeah. And it's like, that's just it's so ridiculous how we think like that.
Yeah, like it's supposed to be, I thought, and I know different now, but I thought we're supposed to be family. Like, you don't kick someone out of your family. Everyone has their problems. They make mistakes. They say stuff, do stuff. But it's not like, oh, you've done that and now that's too much. Like, you're out.
You crossed the line.
Like, can you leave now? Because it looks bad on us. And so that's the fear that was like, man, I know what will happen. So there's no way. Why would I do that? I've got a lot more at stake now with a family. Like, I'm not going to do that. So, and it was a real conflict too, because you'd see unsaved people and they would be very much pursued, and I don't know, their worth is much more than once you're saved or you're in community. Yeah. The unsaved is the goal, but once you're in, then everything's sweet, you're perfect, you're fine. Then who's next? But if you're in and you stuff up,
you're out
then
again.
You're out.
Yeah. You're worse.
You're worse than before you came in, because you know better. So and that was the big driver to keeping quiet. Yeah.
So you're, okay. Wow.
So
it's amazing, man.
And so that weight lifted.
Yeah, it was huge. Like I've never felt like that ever.
Wow.
Ever before. It was just one of those times that was like, I didn't know you could feel like that. Like, I didn't know that you could actually live light.
Oh, man.
And it's like, what? And then, even just sharing with Danny and going through stuff. Like, we had scenarios and times that, memories and whatever, and we'd go through it all. What happened there? What did you say there? Did you mean that? Did you tell him the truth? Like, everything that we could ever think of. It took 3 months because it was, there's 20 years of history with us.
So you went on a 3-month journey of, okay, this was actually happening here, and I did this and I did that.
Yeah, everything.
Because that was going to be my question, is the weight off because the truth has come out, but then there's an aspect of heartbreak from her point of view, and trust being broken.
Yeah, definitely.
And I was going to ask, how did that feel? But I think that answers, or I will ask that, how did that feel? But I just want to say that I can tell that you jumped straight into dealing with that for 3 months and building the trust.
Maybe not voluntarily. Once the Coke can's opened, it's all...
Yeah, it fizzes.
It was so good. Because all those things that you do that you know you shouldn't do, all the lies, all the whatever's that is wrong, they all sit there. They don't go away. It's like, doesn't matter. It kind of does matter because it just fills up your little backpack of life, and you carry it and you carry it and you carry it to a point whether you want to get it off or to a point where you can't carry it anymore, and because we're not supposed to carry it. And so it was good because it was like, God would just bring things, piece by piece, day after day, week after week, that I had forgotten about, but boom, there it was. And like, hey, Danny, there was this time. Okay, great, fine. And then she would have questions. Hey, there was this time that you said this or this happened, whatever. And I'll be like, yes, I was, whatever. Like, I would just be completely honest.
Wow. And that must be so liberating.
It was just the best. It was the best. And so
But risky.
Yeah.
Like, because, there's a lot of hurt that you're projecting onto your wife as well in that regard, because you're just sharing all the stuff.
Yeah. It was definitely a grace that was on
me
to handle all of that. Like, I don't know if it's wisdom to go out and just everything to your partner. Like, that maybe, but I wouldn't just use it as a template, because you have to trust God and His leading as to what He's telling you to do and where He's leading you and at what time, because for us that was the time.
Right.
And He'd prepared her heart a long time before that and leading up to that as well. So
coming into community where you had that opportunity as well, 100%. I think that's right.
Yeah, and because her journey too, like, it's a journey for her too. Like, because we're married and I've done things that have affected us, I thought that it didn't affect us. Everything that you do as a couple by yourself, it affects both of you whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not. It does. And so there's all this stuff that has affected her, and she, because of me now, we're both on a journey. It's not just my journey of freedom, it's her journey of freedom and of other stuff too. So there was a lot of stuff that when it was confessed to her, that she started to, break free of certain things as well that she didn't even realise were on her, that I had allowed, I guess spiritually speaking, into our relationship. I'm the head of the household, and there was clear access for the enemy to come in and do whatever. So, yeah.
Wow.
Amazing.
That's really, that is amazing. I'm surprised it lasted that long, like just keeping it all suppressed.
Yeah, me too. Like, I was like,
a lot of effort.
Yeah, it's a lot of stress.
A lot of stress.
It's a lot of, mentally. Like, I never had or have depression, all that sort of stuff, but definitely you could feel it just hanging there, trying to come suicidal thoughts, those sorts of things. I've never struggled with that, but you could tell that was part of what he was trying to do. The enemy was trying to break you down here and then give you more stuff over there. So,
did you struggle? Like, there must have been the, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough during this journey, because you've got this fester on the inside, this like addiction.
Yeah.
And then you're projecting, wholeness and all that.
Yeah.
Like, there must, your own guilt and...
Oh, it's huge. It's like, depending on what your week looked like, you would wake up. Sometimes it would take you 2 or 3 days to get out of it, like a doldrum of, self-hatred, I guess, or, guilt, shame. And like, in the meantime, you're trying to hold down a job, be a husband, be a dad, all that sort of stuff. And you're like, man, dealing with this stuff on the inside, like, we're not meant to do that. But I was trying to do it. I was trying to do it for such a long time that that's what brought us to, I guess, mid last year, where it started to really grind, not to a halt, but get really, okay, stuff's going to get real soon.
Come on.
Real quick. So, it was, I just thank God that, like he saved me from all this and through all this. Like I know that I don't deserve anything, but I'm thankful for everything. And
I like that.
Like I know that I should have lost everything. There's no doubt. So
I think God offers us off-ramps, options throughout our journey.
Yeah.
People can be ignorant, or people can just want to hold on to the crap that they're holding on to. Is there a couple moments, I think, coming to chapel and then what's his name? Valiant man. Alan Meyer being there is a pretty big, here man, I'm trying to provide you with something. Is there any other experiences like that where God was like, mate, I'm trying to provide you with a way out here?
Yeah, definitely.
What can you share some of those?
There was a couple of ones that I remember that really stood out to me. Was like, I think God just gave me a glimpse into the future of what could be if you don't listen. And I was sort of like, scary, man. Like, we were on a youth tour down in Wellington, and I think we're on the street outreach sort of thing, handing out tracts and doing that. And this guy walks up, and just a guy from Wellington walks up and starts just talking to me, and I wasn't trying to talk to him. He just walked straight up to me and starts talking. I could tell straight away that he was a bit sort of out there, and starts confessing to me, pornography, this, pornography, that. And I'm like, what on earth? And I knew straight away that God was saying, hey, Jared, look at what could possibly be down the track for you.
Oh, wow.
And I don't even know what I said to the guy, but it would have been some Christianese something. Can't help you. Yeah, and so I walked away from that. And I think I remember went and sat down somewhere in the square there and just thought, wow, what a random thing to happen, but what a specific topic to the stranger to come and talk to me about. And there's been other times too where it's just, even Danny's given me a couple of times, hey, look, have you ever looked at pornography? There's no judgment here. Do you want to talk?
Oh, man. I
came so close probably about 3 years ago, I reckon. And I was on the tip of my tongue, but then the moment passed and it was like, oh, man. Like I so want to. Like I don't. Who wants to be stuck there? Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I so want to just say it and just, I don't know what happens after that, but I just want to be free.
Maybe freedom, yeah.
Yeah. But it was like, yeah, so I didn't. God definitely came knocking and pursued. He always pursues. But I didn't listen all the time until, last year. But I think in the back of my mind, a lot of it was, well, what will happen in my community? What will happen then?
Did you ever think that you'd never be free of this?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's scary. Like I knew that I could be free.
Yeah.
I just didn't know when or how. So, yeah, like there was definite times I was like, man, I know I can be, not through my own strength, but I just want to be free. Like I just don't want to have this as an issue whenever it comes up. I don't want to be so weak. I don't want to give in. I don't want to be like that. And I know that I can be better. I just don't know how, and I don't know when. So, yeah, the whole time we want to be free, we just don't know how, don't know where. There was just nothing that apart from confession, which I should have done, there was nothing else that I knew what to do. I don't know who to go to. I didn't want to hurt Denny. There was a thing of fear of hurting Denny, and what if it was a thought that always came to me whenever I thought about potentially confessing. It was like it'll break her.
I feel that. And yeah. Yeah. And so it sort of it doesn't justify I better keep carrying this burden because I've got to try and keep it all together. No. And then does it become a control issue? Trying to hold on to something because you're too scared of the consequence if you let it out of the bag.
Yeah, right. Definitely. Yeah. There's never one single thing. It's always a group.
Sure.
Or one of a few things that always is a reason not to. Yeah.
Did it sort of I was introduced to porn when I was probably 11 or 12. And, you sort of just stumble into it, eh?
Yeah, like you're not looking for it.
Yeah.
It's just strategically placed there by the enemy at a certain age, and it's
just grows from there.
Just grows from there, yeah.
And the more you get into it, the more you realise, flip, how do we get out of this?
Yeah.
But I don't want to tell anyone because, it's...
Yeah. I think the biggest, I guess, thing that I realise is that the silence around it is where the real bondage comes from. Because
the hook lies, eh?
Yeah, like it's like, man, if you grow up in a community where, oh, yes, we're talking about this, and hey, and it's not as if you've never heard people talk about it and share, and hey, this is a program that, you know, possibly help you and all that. It's like, cool, there's avenues, there's people I can talk to, you know, that's easier than dead silence. It's like everybody deals with it by themselves, and they don't deal with it well, I don't think.
Yeah.
Bringing it out, 100%. I remember being at a youth conference, a Youth Alive conference in Brisbane. It was probably one of the most moving things I've ever seen. Is an American guy, Tim, I can't remember his last name, but he shared on pornography and he struggled. And his message was exactly what you started with sharing about, is things in darkness, when it's in the darkness, and bringing it out to the light. Yeah. And I think from memory, probably 70%, there was probably like 3,000 people in the auditorium, and this is a youth event, and like 70% of people responded to a call of bringing shame from pornography and stuff into the light, out of darkness. And it was like people just crying everywhere, and I sat there, and like a lot of our youth were there, and it was just crazy, boys, girls, everything. It was nuts, but it's one thing to bring it out into the light, which is the first step, which, like you said, releases that weight and the burden. But then figuring out, in Alan Meyer's words, is the off-ramps for your brain tracks. Is that what he shares?
Yeah.
Can you share on some of those? What were some of the pivotal things that during Valiant Man that helped you? Because it's great to come out, but then you got to deal with changing your behaviour, changing your...
Yeah, so probably the best tool that he gives for me personally in that whole course is to bounce your eyes. It all starts somewhere. And like if you...
I love that.
Yeah, and like you can't not see something, but you can not look again or have a long look. That's probably the biggest thing, because that's where it all starts. If you let something in and then let your mind go there, then it starts the whole process. So that's probably the biggest tool that I found. And once you get used to doing it, like it becomes easier somewhat, and a habit, like a good habit, rather than my habit is to look too long or to look again and again. But now it's to keep changing direction, whatever, just to not see. And it's fine, because I think in the past, if I had seen somebody or seen something on the side of a bus or a magazine or whatever, automatically you'd feel guilty and condemned straight away. And it's like, well, I didn't even mean to see that, but I saw it, and now I feel guilty and shamed. And it starts the whole downward spiral. And it's like, well, you can't not see stuff, but you can definitely make a choice to
not look again.
And then that's the differentiation between the shame coming from willingly wanting to go and see something or looking at something than accidentally seeing something. And it really breaks that shame straight away and the guilt straight away, because it's not your choice. But even if you do make a mistake, like there's been plenty of times it's like, hey, Denny, like I looked too long at that chick there, and I didn't mean to, but I'm human. I'm not excusing it, but I'm sorry, and she really appreciates times when I do have it is hard sometimes. I didn't mean to look at that or whatever. She'll be, hey, look, when you say that to me, it makes me know that you choose me now over that.
Oh man.
Yeah. So it's like, it's really healing, and it's really good for us. It's our relationship, I thought, was good. Never had any idea it could be like this good. Yeah.
Well, it's almost like you're in it now.
Yeah.
You're
100%.
in, and you've let her in.
Yeah, completely.
As well.
Because in Valiant Man, I think a big key is to have an accountability partner. And I thought, well, if we're one,
who better than your wife?
Then let's be one, like for once.
Yeah,
let's be one. And so she's my partner. She's my accountability partner. And if our marriage is supposed to reflect God's relationship with us, with the church, there should be nothing between us. I'm not saying say everything all at once, but that should be a progression towards there's nothing between us.
And continuing the opening up, that's really powerful, because I think a lot of people will think once I release the burden, let the truth come out, then I'm good. Mm-hmm. But then what happens is that the accident or the actual deliberate mistake, but then taking that straight back to square one, which is, hey, this happened. Yeah. Man, that's... Yeah. I don't think enough people know that. That's real. That is really powerful. Man, that's flipping amazing.
Yeah, I think how's it been in a faith community that it is talked about, like,
so good.
Not necessarily all the time on a Sunday family time, but just around a table where you can freely talk about it without fear of position or anything like that.
It's just, it's so healing. Like, it's just so good. And like, it's night and day. Like, it feels like family. It feels like, hey, like we are, whether we like it or not, or admit it or not, or even think about it or not, we're all in this together. Yeah. Whether male or female. Yeah. We're all in this. Yeah. Either personally, or we know someone, or it's affecting us, or we're affecting somebody else. We're all in this together. So we best be talking about this stuff. Otherwise, there's going to be problems. And so it's been so good. And so I remember taking the boys one by one and just sharing with them personally my journey. And so it was like, wow. And they opened up and shared. And they've done, or two of them have done the Valiant Man course, just finished last week.
For people that don't know, what are your boys' ages?
So oldest is Jack, he's 17, and Bailey's 15, and Cooper's 13.
Cool. Wow.
Yeah, and so I just shared with them, hey, like I didn't do sexuality and pornography well. Like you don't do it well anyway, but I didn't handle it well, and the biggest issue was for me to keep it in the dark. So I just want you guys to know, like, I'm a guy, you're a guy, you will have to deal with this whether you want to or not. It's going to be an issue if you don't deal with it, but I'm here, and I know that I'm your dad and I'm not cool, but you'll get to know one day when you're like, hey, maybe he was cool. Yeah.
Or you realise that you're actually not cool anymore.
Yeah. And it's just like, hey, if you ever need to talk, like, come and talk to me. Like, I get it. Like, I seriously get it. I know what you're talking about. It's not like there is shame attached to it, but there doesn't need to be if you get it out into the open, and we can pray and we can talk about it.
I think the good thing about talking about it is no one can justifiably have a stone in their hand and have a crack. You know. Funnily enough, I've been talking a lot with Griffith University with their bystander, domestic violence bystander program, and one of the modules in there is pornography, and even they're communicating and educating that it's a feeder into our value of woman.
100%.
Which we have known, but they're addressing it hard. Yeah. And, the objectification of women has huge impact on our male simple psyche, you know? And it's just rot at the end of the day. But they're on this part of their module of saying, pornography is just terrible. And then they also talk about advertising and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So, no, it's the more I think it's just talked about,
more it exposes.
The more it exposes, you know, and that there is hope for people who feel like this is their life, this is their lot in life.
Yeah.
And the reality is, with pornography, for non-Christians, Christians, whatever, it ruins your sex life anyway. It's a full rip-off of what your relationship with your wife in that area should be. Yeah. It's absolute trash. Yeah. And I say that to anyone maybe that possibly listening that doesn't hold to the values that we do. It rips you off. Like, it's a false reality.
There's there's an app out called Brain Buddy, and it's the re-education of the male of the brain when it comes to pornography, and it's not like a Christian app, but it's phenomenal because it's telling men that pornography has huge issues on their personal life.
Yeah.
So it's, everyone knows pornography is bad.
Yeah, you don't have to be a Christian.
Yeah. Psychologists even say it's not good. So
Yeah.
No, I think it's awesome that you're facing it and faced it and walking through it. You know, I just appreciate that.
And jumping in with your boys, and talking to them, I think that's really important. I think as then I've got two girls, three, third on the way. So I'm only learning, but from spending the time I've spent with youth, I see a lot of parents leave it up to school, and therefore it's actually, not school, it's their friends to teach them about things instead of sitting down and going, hey, let me teach you so that when it comes, you know.
Yeah.
So I love that you sat down. What was was there a crazy response from one of the boys when you sat down with them, or?
No, they were all pretty open and honest.
Yeah.
Most of them. Yeah. I just their personalities, like, one of them was like, oh yeah, I don't really, but sometimes I do look at it. And I said, look, I just said, hey, look, it will have an effect. You think it's sort of fun and whatever, and it's no big deal, but it will have its pound of flesh. It will take its toll.
Yeah.
And look, Valiant Man's only a tool, right?
Yeah.
It's not the be all and end all.
No.
The point is that you're getting into an environment where you're talking and you're
sharing.
Yeah. You're confessing.
Yeah.
That's Valiant Man's a tool. There are there's probably other good programs. I don't know. But I just think if that's something that's helpful in creating discussion and truth, then, and like it's helping you be free.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good start.
Well, I was so surprised because growing up, you don't assume that everyone else has got any problems with that sort of stuff, and that you're all alone. And that's the massive lie from the enemy, is that it's just you and everyone else has got it sorted, especially your leaders are sweet. Everything else is sweet.
They're not doing anything wrong. None of them.
And you're the one with the problem, so don't be saying anything. But now, like even this past year, I've listened to different podcasts and what have you, and it's like the numbers in the church are the same as the numbers in the world.
Same.
It's like we're talking most people, and it's not just men, it's women too. It's getting worse. And so, like everybody needs to be able to talk about it in an environment where they can, be heard, not judged, and get healed from it.
Divorce rate's the same. And when we talk about the church, we mean people, believers.
Yeah.
So, divorce rate in the church amongst believers, Christian believers, is the same as the world.
Yeah.
Pornography addiction is the same. Like, other attachments. It's not any better.
No.
Our distinction as a Christian isn't our behaviour.
No.
It's actually that's the outworking, right? It's actually the state of the heart and allowing out that to flow through our life.
Yeah.
So when you're holding stuff in the dark, you're not actually living free.
No.
And God wants us to be free from this stuff.
Yeah.
And so the more it's shared and open and confessed, the more people can live in freedom and authentically.
Yeah.
Because there's a barrier, right? There was, when you're stuck in something, creates that barrier that you're not quite real.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hate that.
Yeah. I actually wrote a list on my phone. There's a lot of stuff on there that I wrote down as we started that 3-month journey of things that were changing really quickly, like personally and in our relationship and with Danny. And it was like, well, got to write it down because there's so much.
Are you able to read a couple of
I'll
things?
read the ones that won't make me cry. It was just amazing. So what has changed since being open, vulnerable, honest and truthful with my wife? Because that was never who I was. So
right.
What's changed since I started to do that?
Wow.
So
say that again.
What has changed since being open, vulnerable, honest and truthful with my wife?
Wow. So
And so how I see God and relate to him as Father, that changed like real quick.
Come on.
Wow, because if anybody's going to be disappointed in me, first of all, it's going to be God. If I'm not doing what I should be doing, Dad's going to be angry. So that was the first thing. And I'm like, okay, that started to change. And all these things, I haven't nailed these, but it's a progress, but these things are changing, and they change quickly, some of them. So prayer and reading the Bible and the Word started to become genuine and alive. It wasn't just this, better read the Bible because I feel bad about what I've done.
Wow.
It was like, man, God's showing me and teaching me, so I want to read it. And when I pray, I'm praying to God because I know that He hears me, not like there's a big ceiling and, sort yourself out and then come back so I can hear you.
Wow.
Yeah. So how I see my wife physically and emotionally has like dramatically changed. That's a given. That changed real quick too. All the lies that you believe for all those years, they start to get undone, and they're all linked to each other. And so once one falls, they all start to fall apart too. So that started to happen real quick. How I relate to my children as a father has changed and changing still. So when you got your own stuff to deal with, you haven't got time to help other people. And even if you want to help other people, you feel like a hypocrite. Like, I'm a mess.
Wow.
Why would I be telling you what to do or how to get free when I'm not free or that sort of thing? So patience and empathy for my children has come quickly. I was very impatient with them because I was trying to just suppress and deal with my own stuff. I don't want external problems. I got enough of my own.
Wow.
So don't bring me your stuff because I can't handle it. Like I don't want to deal with other stuff. I want to fix myself. So, and becoming more like the family unit we were created to be. So that happened pretty quickly too. So I'm sure the kids noticed a change and no continual changing as well. One of the biggest things that I noticed was the constant state of peace in our soul, like the constant state of peace that came. We stopped trying to have this hustle rush mentality with everything.
Come on.
It was just this constant state of peace, and so that was really a big difference that happened for us. And just everyday menial tasks start to bring joy and contentment. We didn't try and rush through stuff and get to the big stuff. Life, just slow down and enjoy every moment because every moment is a gift.
Wow.
Well, man, I think that's it's an awesome way to wrap this up.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Thanks so much for coming on. Thanks for coming in and being vulnerable and sharing. No doubt that people that listen will be blessed.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thanks, Jared.
Anytime.
And it's such a good testimony of freedom.
Yeah.
It's knocking on your door, right? It's knocking on your door. You just have to open it up.
Yeah.
And it just took you 30 years to be courageous enough to open up. And maybe someone who's listening just thinks, you know what? I've been in this for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. That you might just spark the courage to just open up because freedom's right there. Yeah.
And one thing I do know, looking back through it all, is that God, He does pursue you forever. Like He relentlessly pursues you, and He won't stop until He has all of you. So
come on,
He won't go away.
Yeah,
which is good. Like don't want Him to go away. Like just surrender. Like that's all it is. Just to surrender.
Oh, thanks.
And the light at the end of the tunnel that once you do fully open up, how quickly things can change.
Yeah.
So.
Love it.
Awesome, man. Let's do this again sometime.
Yeah, thank you. Be good to hear, Denny's perspective as well.
Yeah, very, very valuable.
Very good.
Yep.
Might have to do that. Thanks, man.
No problems.